where I come from the hood. If you come from the hood in the States, you know what I mean. There was no conversation about Africa or traveling to Africa. We just don't know we need to come back, and we sometimes don't realize how much we're carrying as African Americans who are still in the land where our ancestors were. Commercials on TV, for those of you who don't know, if you're in the West, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Where there's like a child in Africa and there are flies flying around the child, and they're clearly near some contaminated water. And it's like, I was shocked to learn that like there were people who had church on top of the dungeons while they were treating our ancestors like trash. Okay. And I also learned that people were pooing and having menstrual cycles and crying, and you do not have to sell all of your things and move to Ghana tomorrow. Ghana is going to be here. Like, make a plan for yourself, especially if you have.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I go by the name Me, Myself, and I. Epic it was, and remember to like and share to this amazing content. And I always want to say a very big thank you for always doing that, sharing, liking, subscribing. Thank you so much for always doing that. I really appreciate it so much. Today I'm here with this amazing, gorgeous queen, beautiful. Whoa, she's going to introduce herself by herself. You understand? But today we are eating some fufu. Fufu, and Charlie, let her introduce herself before we go straight. She's oh my god, you already started.
Hey y'all, my name is stop. Hey y'all, my name is Niadi. I am from North Carolina in the States, but I live in a DMV area. I have been in Ghana for 3 months now. I have a YouTube channel, Mighty Intellectual. Definitely check it out. I also run my e-commerce store. It's called Brafier.
Wow.
Check it out at www.brafier.com. I'm also starting tours this summer in Ghana. So you can check us out on Instagram at Brafier Tours. Cape Coast for me, I know it's very beautiful, but Cape Coast for me feels a little bit heavy. And I've been in several times, and it feels like every time I go, I just feel, I don't know, I feel tired. Like there's a weight, and I'm pretty sure because of the history of Cape Coast. But I was shocked to learn that like there were people who had church on top of the dungeons while they were treating our ancestors like trash. Okay. And I also learned that people were pooing and having menstrual cycles and crying and peeing all in the same place. Yeah, I mean some of the stuff, because they're gonna teach you that, right, that your ancestors were turned into slaves, right? So some of that stuff I knew, but I think going and being in that space is a little bit different than somebody like telling you about it, and just like seeing like, oh, they were here, you know what I mean? It's a different feeling. So
how did you get to know African Ghana on the media space for you whilst you were in America? How did you get to know it?
There was nothing I knew about Ghana. That's number one. You might have actually in school maybe heard something here and there about Nelson Mandela, South Africa, but there was nothing that I really heard about Ghana. You learned about slavery a bit, but I feel like a lot of us, one, are either like afraid to really dive deep into it, or two, like, because even myself, I'm still learning. But what I can remember is you would see on the TV like commercials of the child who is near the water, and you know what I'm talking about with the flies. They would have commercials on TV, for those of you who don't know. If you're in the West, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Where there's like a child in Africa and there are flies flying around the child, and they're clearly near some contaminated water, and it's like donate $5 a day to save this child in Africa. I do remember those. Wow. Yeah, that was definitely something going on in the States. Some kids were taught, maybe their parents were into learning about Africa, but where I come from the hood. If you come from the hood in the States, you know what I mean. There was no conversation about Africa or traveling to Africa. People are trying to figure out how to pay their bills. We're not worried about reconnecting with ourselves and going back to the continent. People are trying to figure out how to survive. So there was no conversation about Africa. But I will say, in college, I feel like I've always had this. That's why I say God works in the craziest ways, because like as a child, I would just wear certain things. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? Am I talking too much?
Whoa.
Okay. As a child, I would just wear certain things. Like there was like a thrift shop or some kind of like Afrocentric shop by my house, and I would just like wear certain things, and I didn't really know what was happening. There was like a natural. I just had this natural feeling towards like darker skinned boys,
Wow.
darker skinned boys and men, and I don't know, just he works in the weirdest ways, and I had no idea about like Africa, Ghana, none of that. And then in college, I don't know, I just had this feeling I wanted to study abroad in Africa, and I did that my last semester, and it happened to be South Africa. That was a lot. I'm about to.
No, that was a lot, but it makes sense. It's good to point it out. You understand?
Yeah. So I was just saying there was no like imagery really of Ghana specifically, but you saw those commercials on the TV of the child. But that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that? I have to be talking so that you can also be eaten, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I'm tired of, no, I'm just playing.
I love the fact that they're coming back to their roots. You understand? A place that they will feel comfortable, a place that they will feel at home and all that. Some of them want to live here for the rest of their life. And what's your take on African American, coming back to Ghana or Africa?
My take on African Americans coming back, I think that it's a necessity. I do not think that you have to live here if that's not what your financial situation allows you to do. That's number one, because it's a real thing. And then two, it might not be in your heart to like live here. It may not be in your heart to live here. But what I do think is a necessity is that we all have the opportunity to visit Africa, and it doesn't even have to be Ghana. I think we all need to experience the land that our ancestors walked on, because I think, and I just started reading the 1619 Project. I don't know if you read the book, but I literally just started reading it, so don't be asking me what it is. But the first couple of pages just made me, I don't know, it just made me realize that like we like to think that slavery was like 1,000 years ago, and I feel like people, I don't know, when we talk about like the impacts of slavery on us as like African Americans and our mindset and things we do, all of the things, I think people like to pin it as an excuse because we feel like slavery was so long ago. But like when you really think about it, it wasn't that long ago. Like it really wasn't. Like we're still trying to get back to who we are. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's important that we visit, at least, yeah.
But you are still answering the question too. But anyway, it is what it is.
Oh, wait.
And
okay. I was gonna say too, with that, sometimes, with what I said about, it wasn't that long ago, I think sometimes, or a lot of us actually don't know that we need to come back. Because we're...
Wow.
No, I'm serious.
You don't know you need to come back.
A lot of us, no, seriously, because when you think about it, like, especially if you come from where I come from, which is the work I want to do, is I want to be able to, especially children who come from like low income areas in the States, I want to be able to bring them over here, because when you're trying to figure out how to survive, and your parents are trying to figure out how to survive, you don't have time to like figure out who you are. You just don't. And I'm sure like some Ghanaians here can like, they feel that sentiment. So we just don't know we need to come back, and we sometimes don't realize how much we're carrying as African Americans who are still in the land where our ancestors were taken and made to stay. But when you come to a place like Ghana, and again, it doesn't have to be Ghana necessarily, but for me it was Ghana, you just feel like peace. You feel peace. And sometimes, we just don't know that we need it. Not all of us. Let me say that. Yeah.
Wow. She's really giving us positive and let me say something that is going to inspire us to come back to Africa, to Ghana. A message for African Americans.
My message would be that it's necessary. Like I just said, the first thing is that like it's necessary for us to come back. And I know that certain things can get in the way, like finances, but you're coming here. I think that when you're coming here, yes, I don't think you should just come without the mindset to pour into the community. I believe that wherever I'm going to stay, I want to pour. Whether I'm still in the U.S., I want to pour in the community. So if you are coming to Ghana, I would find a way to pour in the Ghanaian community. Whether that's starting a business where you're able to give local Ghanaians jobs, or you're going to work with some nonprofit organization where you get to teach children transferable skills that are going to help them in the future, or if you want to start, like you were talking about earlier, an investment group where you give money to business ideas that you think will do really well by local Ghanaians. Now, I don't know if I'm about to answer your question, but I think that if you need to go back to the States to get money, then do it. I would say do not be ashamed of that. I feel like coming here, we have to acknowledge that privilege that we do have to move in between Ghana and the U.S. because it is a privilege. And then with that, it's like, take your time. Like, you do not, and I say this all the time on my channel, you do not have to sell all of your things and move to Ghana tomorrow. Ghana is going to be here. Like, make a plan for yourself, especially if you have kids. Save enough money. You do not have to move to Ghana tomorrow. It is going to be here. That is the advice I would give. Also, be open to, like, what I do or what I've been doing is extended stays. Like, the first trip I took to Ghana was 1 month. The second was 1 month. This one was 3 months. Of course, my plan is to...
Okay. So you've been in Ghana. This is not your first time being in Ghana.
No. This is my third time. I told you. I fell in love.
Wow.
I was pressed. I was supposed to... So I told you about the story 2019, but I didn't come to 2021 summer. I was supposed to come 2021 December in Ghana because that was the whole thing, December in Ghana. But I was watching all those videos. I fell in love. I was like, no, I gotta go early. So I went during the summer. So yeah. But what was I saying? Oh, the extended stays, right? So if that's something you can afford to do, then do that as you prepare to move. You don't have to. It doesn't look one way. Basically, is what I'm saying.